So now that we've got our generated mesh, and in this case, the one we're going to work with first is reality captures mesh, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of cleanup. So you're going to see there's some artifacting in here. In fact, if I turn on the polyframe button over here and we have line and fill turned on, you're going to see with our lines turned on, the topology where it couldn't quite figure out what to do or photographs weren't that good, the topology actually gets a little bit lighter. What would be cool is an option if we had a masking, mask by maybe surface topology density would be a cool option in order to kind of mask those areas out and kind of separate them. But what we're going to do in this case here is go ahead and clean this up a little bit. There's a lot of different techniques in the photo scan version. We're going to go through even more techniques on using live booleans and stuff. But for this reality capture one, what I'm going to do is keep it simple, and we're going to basically do what I'm going to call, let's say, Dynamesh Cleanup. And what that means is I'm basically going to Dynamesh this object first and maintain as much of the detail as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm always going to be projecting back to this original mesh. But basically, if I turn this into a Dynamesh and chop off her arms and her head and maybe even this rabbit out of here, I'm going to be able to work on these objects individually, clean them up. Because you're going to see if I go in here and start moving stuff around, it gets a little bit weird to tell like what's going on in here, and kind of getting in there and sculpting is going to be difficult. But if I separate these objects out, it's going to be a lot easier. So first things first, what I want to do is I can turn the solo button off, and we just have a file in here that's just our working mesh. I'm going to go ahead and the first thing, subtool, duplicate this off so I can always have a subtool to go back to that has the full detail. So if I select the second one, again, I can just tap on these nameplates to select the subtools. Turn off the eyeball on your original file. You don't really need that one right now. And now let's go ahead and clean this up. Now, like I said before, I'm going to start with a Dynamesh. So if I go down here to Geometry, Dynamesh, you're going to see by default, blur might be on. Turn that down to 0, turn project off, and your resolution at 128, you can give it a shot. Just hit Dynamesh, and you're going to see, ooh, that's a little bit low. So let's go ahead and just move this up to like 664. All right, that did a pretty fair job. I lost a little bit of resolution, so if I turn on solo and then I click back and forth between these two, you're going to see there is a slight bit of difference. But again, we'll get that detail back when we do our, basically our zero measure and our project. We'll get all that detail back. So I'm not too concerned about that. As long as I maintain the major forms, I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll go ahead and stick with what we decided was the 664 resolution. And again, that was just arbitrary. I just pulled it to the right and just kind of dialed it in. You can just undo and Dynamesh at a higher resolution or low resolution, whatever is going to work for you. But I think that'll work for us. And you can even see up here in the active point count here. So the original was 896, and then this new one I'm working on is 967. So they're pretty accurate, or they're pretty similar in point counts here. So next thing we're going to do is go ahead and separate out these different objects. There's a couple of different ways to do that. One way is to hold down Control, and we'll switch to Mask Lasso here. Now with the Mask Lasso selected, I'm going to navigate so our head's kind of looking this way off to the side. I'm going to hold down Control. Then we're just going to lasso mask her head area here. Now it doesn't have to be perfect because we can always go and navigate around to the side and hold down Control and then add to our selection. Or we can go back here and go, oh, we need to get rid of this, so I can hold down Control. And then when I tap or hold down Alt, it's going to turn white, and that means I'm unmasking, so I can go through here and I can unmask any areas that I don't want. And if I even want to go in here and maybe do a little bit of more intricate cleanup, I can hold down Control and go back to Mask Pin. And now when I hold down Control, I can just paint, and then Control Alt will unpaint that masked area. So I can get a little bit more detailed with my masking just by going through here and painting my mask after I've done the bigger Mask Lasso selection. Another thing you can do is you can see if I'm painting with a really big soft brush, basically you're going to see it kind of fades out at the sides here. If you hold down Control Alt and tap in a white area, what that's doing is sharpening your mask. If we go down here to our masking menu, you're going to see we have View Mask turned on so we can see it. And then that's on by default. And then over here, you're going to see Sharpen Mask. So if you click the Sharpen Mask, it'll start sharpening this mask up. Or, of course, you can also click Blur Mask. That'll blur it out. Faster ways to do that is to hold down Control Alt and tap in a white area or an unmasked area to give you an unsharp mask, or to sharpen that mask, and then hold down Control and tap in a masked area. Then that'll blur that mask out. So, again, we'll hold down Control Alt, tap in an unmasked area, and now we can go through here and we can see where we need to clean up. It'll just kind of tighten your mask up just a little bit. Once we've got that where we want it, I'm basically separating it. I'm ignoring her cloth, and I'm just going to separate the skin, quote-unquote, part of her head out here. Once we're happy with that, we need to polygroup this. So if I turn on our polyframe here, you're going to see we just have all one polygroup here. It's a white polygroup, and If you turn off line, you'll get rid of the lines. You can just see that this is just a white polygroup here. If I go over here to our polygroups, you're going to see there's an option down here called Group Mask Clear Mask. If I hover over that, you'll see the hotkey for that is Control W. So with this area masked right here, you know what? I'm going to mask a little bit more around her fingers. There we go. I'm going to hit Control W, and when I do that, it's going to group whatever was masked, and it's going to clear that mask for me. So now we have a polygroup where her head is, and it looked like I missed a little bit of her face. So I'm going to undo that, and then go ahead and mask this part out here with mask paint, and then Control, let's grab a little bit more, sorry. Control W, there we go. A little bit of a cleaner polygroup here. Control W, there we go. So now that we have our head in a polygroup, there's a couple different ways we can get rid of this. We can go down here to the split menu, and if we do a group split, anything that's a polygroup will be split off into its own subtool, or you can go over here to Control Shift, we'll do select rectangle, and then Control Shift select her head, and that's basically visibility. It'll just show you that one polygroup you Control Shift selected, and now we can go to split hidden, and then whatever was hidden will be split into its own subtool. If I turn off solo, you're going to see we now have two subtools working here. We have our body. If we alt tap in the viewport, we can see we can select her head and then select her body. You can also go up here to the subtool menu and select between them as well.